Hi, welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag. With me today, Captain Eric Merrill, who came in on his day off. So he has his favorite Nebraska football jersey on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's OU, there's Mizzou, there's other football teams besides Nebraska.
Yeah. So
they win.
I was gonna say, I know Jake Rhodes will be watching this one. So for all those OU fans out there, like Chief Rhodes, we'll make sure to talk real slow so you can understand the banter that we have going on.
It's the Oklahoma thing with him.
It is.
I have to interpret for other people when Chief Rhodes is around. So, Eric, we asked you to come in today, and thank you for coming in on your day off.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Because we just hired a recruit class. They are going through preparatory work now. And the Recruit Academy is scheduled to start when?
September 25th is day one.
And how many weeks?
It's 14 now. So we originally did 15, but I found a way that we could shave a few things at the end, put it into the front end, and then that way our recruits can get on the engines that much faster.
Okay. So I know it seems like a long time from when we offered the jobs until we start. Yeah. Is part of that, is that because of scheduling the academy? Is that because we have to get gear and equipment, and that just takes a while?
Yeah. So, and you make two very good points. And with that, I'd like to give a big shout out to Eric Trujillo and those good people at the warehouse, because he and I actually just met yesterday about a couple items. And I know that he's got shields ordered and a couple other things. He already has stocked up a few items, but the bunker gear is a big thing, because he has to get everybody fitted and then ordered. And I mean, with the supply chain issues that we're still recovering from, it takes a while to get all that in.
Okay.
So
what can the recruits expect? What can our recruit training officers expect? And then let's talk a little bit about what the company officers and the engine companies in the field can expect when a recruit comes out of the training academy. Because I just want to preface this by saying there's a difference between when we had a reserve program years ago and today when we're hiring folks that may not have as much EMS experience. They may be EMTs but haven't worked in the field, or they didn't have Fire 1 and 2 coming in, so they're getting it in this academy. And I think there's still some expectations that exist in the station that are unrealistic based on what we do today to recruit new personnel.
Yeah, so a lot of really great takeaways from that. And so I'll just start with the academy. If any of the, you would assume if the title's like academy, that our recruits would be watching this podcast for sure.
You would think.
You would think. So if I could give any preface, like, hey, start working out if you haven't already, maybe today. Start today. Yes. Leg day, like we just talked about. Start with leg day, see how you do. But there's going to be a lot of conditioning that occurs every day. The very first part of every day is PT. So that's a big part of just fitness, is a big functional part of the entire academy, not to mention your entire career and then long after. So, those types of things, the scheduling, that's the stuff that I'm handling right now. So that way I can kind of be strategic on if we're going to do something more cerebral or maybe more academic on this day, the next day, let's blow it out and go do a bunch of more physical stuff. So an example of something we did last year is the recruits, they really take away like Save Your Own. And for those who don't know what Save Your Own is, that is in the event that a firefighter maybe or is trapped or can't get out of a structure or a bad situation, we teach our firefighters how to get themselves out or put themselves in a position that another crew can come in and get them out of a bad situation. So our recruits always love that. But I put a lot more energy into the front end of how to not get you in that position.
Right.
We just last week, big shout out to ISFSI, the International Fire Service instructors. They brought a crew out and they taught NFPA 1700, some of our trainers and people around the state. So some of the content we took from that and stuff that we've already been doing in terms of fire dynamics, we're going to go a little heavier on that. So our firefighters will come in with a very solid foundation of fire dynamics and fire behavior with our modern fire environment.
Right. And
then go in with a little bit more of that edge of kind of an intellectual look at things on a fire ground, as opposed to we're just going to pull hose all day.
Well, and the NFPA 1700, if I remember correctly, is a newer NFPA standard, and it's based on studies from Underwriter Laboratories out of Illinois. They do a lot of studies there, and so it's really data-driven information on a modern way to attack a structure fire. And it's interesting because you hear some mantras sometimes that we're not an aggressive firefighting agency. I would challenge most of those people. I don't think I would follow them into a fire. My personal belief is when I started in the 90s, we thought, well, we push fire if we go in from the burn sites, we have to come in from the unburned side. Science is showing us, no, we stand a better chance of saving someone if they're trapped in there if we can hit it from the outside, cool the environment for them, and then go in. But also shows that we're not pushing the fire, which is great to be able to take our personnel through and show them, the new recruits, here's what this looks like, and then share the same with our folks in the field. Because every time I've been on a structure fire, our folks have been very aggressive in their attack, but they're smart. And that's the difference. There's stupidly aggressive, and then there's smart aggressive, and we're looking for the smart aggressive.
Absolutely. And a mantra that we kind of, we didn't coin it by any means, but I heard it at the National Fire Academy and then kind of brought it back. And we started instilling this with quarterly trainings with our engine folks, and then now with our recruits, but we're calling them thinking firefighters. We want a firefighter on the fire ground to be thinking strategically, just like the IC, just like the engineer. Everybody plays a part in the size up and building the fireground strategies, because those tactics they all have to be coordinated. And how coordinated you are actually dictates your aggressiveness, so to speak.
And the outcome, the ultimate outcome
100%.
of the fire. So what are some other things that you cover in the Academy? I know a big one for us right now, long-term, as we continue to work through it, is mental and behavioral health. So there is a component of that in this Academy, correct?
There always is. And something that we've done really well in the past is we're great at identifying our own strengths and, even more importantly, our weaknesses or areas in which we can improve. And I think with mental health, it's this constant dynamic learning environment for our members of the peer support team, Debbie and the great people that Start Moving On. So with everything that we're learning and moving on is incorporating that in the Academy. So first of all, building resilience in the recruits is crucial. We start that on the physical end with the PT and the things that we do on that. But then on the back end, just the mental side of things, we introduce them to the understanding that you will see things that are abnormal, that you should not see. But we are going to give you all the tools for you to be successful, that you can witness this, work through it, and then be successful moving forward. This does not have to debilitate or cripple you. But over time, as this compounds, we want to give you the right outlets, the right tools. So what we'll do is we'll spend one day. I break these up into 2 half days, so it's not too heavy. But we'll bring in our peer support team and Debbie Ritterbush and the good people that Start Moving On. And then we have a couple members in our department that have had some really some very sound but also emotional traumatic events happen in their lives that they've worked through. Either old methods or our newer methods, and they're kind of bringing that to the room and having that vulnerable conversation with our recruits.
So they're bringing some of their personal experiences. I believe Captain Fields is coming in, Brody Fields, correct?
I haven't scheduled anything technically with Brody yet, but we always have Dennis Brown and Rick Olson come in. And what we'll do with those two is we put them in the room with the recruits, and the rest of us, we go away.
Back out.
That way it allows them to be vulnerable, allows the recruits to connect with them, and that way they can have that open dialogue. And I think that's key, is that we allow that.
So another thing with resiliency, we introduced the book last year, I Love a Firefighter, as a trial run. It's gone over very well, so we're getting ready to order all of those books. We'll order them for the Academy, we'll order them for the Partners Academy. But it's very important to get the families involved on the front end. So one of the things that I've asked you to incorporate this year is, after they take their Firefighter 1 and 2 test, the state test for whoever needs to, and the recruit class, which is about 9 weeks out, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a week 9.
To bring their family members in for a half day on a Saturday morning, and we can go through some health benefits, some pension benefits, just talk with them and their significant others, whether that's a girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, or a parent. Bring your parents in. And then when we're done talking about some of those things, we'll talk about our approach to mental and behavioral health, the things that we're doing, the mitigation efforts, same thing with cancer. But then have the recruits take their family out, put them in gear, and take them through a propane car prop, get them on an engine, get some tools in their hands so that they have a really good understanding of what is this job. And so we've done the Partners Academy. I think that's been good, but I think this is another step to try to get the families involved earlier in the process. And this idea came out of conversations in Washington, D.C. at CFSI with Scottsdale, Phoenix, Mesa, with researchers out of Illinois who said you need to get the families involved earlier. So I think that's good, hopefully. I don't know if it's good.
No, it'll be good.
I think the idea, the concept is decent. We'll see if it works.
Well, and we do have a Partners Academy on September 30th.
Correct.
Which is great because it dovetails that first week of the Recruit Academy.
Right.
But then doing something like that, I think the idea conceptually is awesome because it's more intimate when you have just the recruits and just their loved ones.
Right.
And one, they kind of form a bond together a little bit. And then we get to kind of crawl, walk, run with those family members. But the biggest thing is that and one of our talents, I feel like, an organization is that we look for every opportunity to not just the individuals and wearing the uniform, but even their families. Everybody understands we all need support systems.
Yes.
And we all need to we're all in this together, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's why I like that collaboration.
Yeah, no, that's great. So a lot of exciting times coming up for these new recruits. A lot of struggle, a lot of physical and mental strain as they move through the academy. But one of the things we have to test our recruits for is, can you make good decisions under stressful situations? So it's not like going in the military and having a drill sergeant yell in your face, but you will be in a stressful environment, a realistic type environment where you're making decisions. And we want you to get more comfortable in that. And you will over the course of your career, but we need to set you on the right path. The other side of this, and you talked about it, is setting folks up so they understand, right? Expectation. And in my conversations over the years, that's really what I've set the tone with, is the difference between us and the lay public is expectations. We expect to see some horrific things. They don't. So, but that doesn't mean it doesn't impact us, right? The badge is awesome, but once we take that badge off, we're still just regular human beings saying horrible things. Because we expect it, we may have some healthier ways to process. It's still there. Right. So we cover a lot in the academy. Now, what, as a new recruit comes out of the academy, if you're talking directly to the company officers and engine companies, what are some things that, what's some information that you have for them where you can set that expectation that, hey, when you get this new recruit, here's the other things you're going to have to continue to work with them on?
Great question. So a couple things. One is they're coming out of the academy with all this momentum, and they're wanting to go and save the world, and by golly, we should let them. So I think the biggest advice I can give to the engine companies, and especially the company officers, speaking captain to captain, is don't slow down that momentum. Make sure that you're planning your days ahead. Communicate, and using the chain of command. I think that's important too. That firefighter has somebody senior to them that's maybe not the captain, whether senior firefighter, engineer, but using that chain of command, filtering the wants and needs of that recruit, and getting out of the station. Go drill. Go look at structures. One thing that I've always enjoyed, not so much business inspections, but about taking something like that, maybe more monotonous and making it a strength, is you go do those business inspections, and then you can look for where's your water supplies, what are the some of the vulnerabilities of the structure, and all those different things turns into a really cool training. Outside of, we still have to kind of do those types of like hydrant and business inspections, things like that. We still owe that to the citizens, but make a training out of it. But getting out of the station, go train, go work. And I've read this in a few books, maybe, that the more you work and you're training, the less time you have at the table. The table of treason. I was filling that in for you. But
so the reality is, what you're getting today is not someone who's worked with us as a reserve for 4 years. You're getting someone that's been with us for 14 weeks that hasn't had a lot of exposure. And there's only so much that you can do in the academy, and there's only so much you should do in the academy. So some of that falls back on the company officer and engine company. One, drive home the culture of the organization, right? That's one of them. Two, they're not going to have all of the information that they need to be 100% successful. So it's your job to make sure that you continually guide them, work with them. Don't send them out into the engine bay to check the engine by themselves for hours. Go out there with them, work with them, spend some time, then come back inside and sit down and talk about it. What are those expectations when you go out? If you have an EMT that doesn't have EMT experience, well, then help them get the EMT experience. your expectations have to be right for that recruit.
Yeah.
And that's not that they are 100% ready to go day one with all the experience in the world.
Right.
Right. That at one point you were brand new, and someone had to show you. And that may have been when you first became a reserve. We're not giving you a reserve now.
Yeah.
We're giving you somebody brand new.
Yep.
So work with them, provide them that environment. So the other thing, just real quick, so hopefully we're going to find out about the SAFER grant maybe this month, maybe next month. Yeah. It's the federal government, and we love them. We don't want them not to approve our SAFER grant. But they can be a little slow in getting information out. But if we get awarded the SAFER grant, if they award it to us and the board accepts it, then we will be going out and doing another hiring process.
Yeah.
Which could mean back-to-back academies.
Yep.
What does that mean for you and our recruit training officers?
So a couple of things. So first of all, it's a great opportunity, and with everybody already being forewarned that this could happen, everybody's excited and everybody hopes for this opportunity. With that, though, on my end, I have to make sure I'm looking out for the rest of the trainers and that we don't burn them out, because it's a lot of energy and work that they put in. And I'll be honest with you, this last batch of recruits that went through, phenomenal people, and they're just killing it out there. They're doing a great job. And a lot of that is a testament to the trainers in that last academy. But you can't burn out your good people, because if we do a back-to-back academy, there's going to be maybe a 30-day lag from the end of this one to the start of the next one. So we need to make sure that they're rested up. That we've also got a few new RTOs that are coming in to kind of, get the green off of them as well. And then that way they can step up and take more of a lead for the next one. And another thing that's happened, and thank you and Chief Parra and Chief Enema for collaborating on this, but having somebody perhaps come in on a 40-hour schedule, so that guarantees there's at least a couple people there, because our numbers are so big. We want to accommodate that appropriate instructor to student ratio, and having more of those instructors there to give that attention, because we are teaching stuff more intent and more technical, and then we're getting reps. So that's another thing to look forward to, is we're teaching the why, but we're repping on the how.
Well, and the other side of this is, and so for folks who haven't heard this yet, we are working on a plan to pull one of the RTOs, from their company officer position and assign them to training for 40 hours a week during the academy. Did we budget for it? No. Do we have the budget for it? We can fit it in. We can cut some other areas. But the reality is, training's so busy, we need more assistance in there to get, especially if we're doing back-to-back. And we're expecting Chief Parra to do accreditation, and we're expecting Captain Merrill to do these things with quarterly training, and run a recruit academy. So we have to do something to bridge the gap. And so that's what we're looking at right now. So Eric, it sounds like an exciting time, a lot of potential. I mean, the reality is, if you're a new hire here, think about it. We're bringing on 10 right now. We could be looking at 8 brand new positions with attrition, 10 to 12, if we get the SAFER grant. That's potentially 20 to 22 new firefighters. If the SAFER grant's in, 15 of those would be brand new firefighter positions. The others would be attrition. That's a lot of new people in a short period of time.
Yeah, but that's great, because that's the evolution of our culture. And so it's exciting. It's a little bit, oh man, we haven't seen this yet. But the other nice thing is that there's a lot of things we haven't seen that we just dove headfirst in and we got it done.
Well, and that's one thing I think we're known for, is we do get things done. We don't shy away from challenges. And it does set us on the course for that next generation of firefighters and leaders in the fire service, is what we're hoping to see over the course of their careers. Have a lot of leaders out there right now, been here for a long time, but a lot of attrition as we go forward. So how do we pass on some of that good institutional knowledge and help these folks excel throughout their careers? It starts day one in the academy with you, with Chief Parra, with all the RTOs. Thank you all for your support. Eric, thank you for coming in today on your day off. Kathy, thank you for being here. Anything that you would like to add for the new recruits?
For the new recruits, we're all super excited. That's not just training and ops, that's also non-ops. So please come visit us at admin or fleet, because we want to get to know you just as much.
Absolutely, and we'll be highlighting those new individuals as time goes on. So Eric, thank you. Kathy, thank you so much again. For all of you out there, we look forward to seeing you next week.